Although the result of this game was a draw, I still think it's interesting to take a look at it. And also, if you're new to chess or at least weaker than people who analyze the games, it can be a good idea to take a look at them, because you might actually learn something. In this game I was black and the time control was 2 minutes with 2 seconds on each move. So let's take a look. My opponent played e4. I played c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6. So we have a standard knight off defense. And my opponent played bishop c4. I responded with e6. He went bishop e3, queen c7, bishop b3, nice, knight to c6. He played queen e2. Well, let's take a look at these last couple of moves here. Obviously, in many games in the Sicilian, the e6 square is a target, and here he played a bishop e3 just to get the bishop out. He could have played bishop to g5, but I think bishop e3 is good. I'll play queen c7, not so much to attack the bishop on c4, but also to, in case he ever plays f4, I have at least one more piece sort of attacking the e5 square. So he went to b3, knight c6, and I actually have 3 pieces, if you count the pawn, covering the e5 square. Queen e2, bishop e7, castles along. I played h5. The reason I played h5 is that now that his king is on the queen side, obviously he wants to start attacking my king side, even though my king is still in the center, and it's not actually quite clear if I'm going to go king or queen side. But h5 stops moves like g4 and stuff like that. You also see that happen a lot in the Sicilian. I think it's a useful move. It's a good move. Here I did play f4. I'll play bishop d7. b5 I suppose could be played here as well. I think we are out of book here actually. h5 was a book move. Yeah, he went out of book with f4. I think the book move would have been h3. I suppose preparing g4 and forcing some sort of attack on my king side anyway. But again, my king is in the center and it's not quite clear if I'm going to go queen side or king side. f4, bishop d7, f5. Now, one other thing about the knight c6 move is that after the move f4, which you will see happen a lot, you can always take the knight on d4, and then white doesn't actually have anything going on this a2 to g8 diagonal. And again, my king is in the center, so but it can be good to actually have an idea at least where you want to put your king. Also in this position of the bishop takes, I don't really want to play a move like e5, because then he could potentially play knight e5, and that could become a little bit unpleasant. But also he has to move e5, and that's obviously something I did see. So here I did castle along, and here I played e5. Well, I don't really have much choice but to take. Let's say if I play a move like the knight up here, then he could take over here. I'll take, well, okay, maybe I could throw in a check, but it doesn't really change much. So if I take over here, he can even start taking over here, but he also has this move, attacking my rook. So things could become rather unpleasant for black. So I play d takes e5. He took with the bishop, and here queen a5. I suppose I could have played queen b6 as well, but I just threw up queen a5 After all, it was a blitz game, but I don't think queen f8 was a bad move. And here he took my pawn. I took with the bishop because taking with the pawn, well, that's very passive, because if I take with the pawn after f takes e6, then I mean, it feels like this bishop is only has one purpose in life, so to speak, and that is to protect my pawn. So I figured that it was a better idea to get rid of this annoying bishop and just trade it off. So he played bishop takes, pawn takes, and now queen c4. Obviously he's winning this e6 pawn, but maybe it's not so important. I'll play queen c5, and here I play queen e6 check. I had to play knight d7, and this is actually, it looks very dangerous for black. He played knight d5. Obviously he can't take the pawn on g7, because if bishop takes g7 I have this check over here, and I'll just win the bishop on the next move. So he played knight d5. I played bishop g5 check, just getting away from that threat. He played bishop f4, and he had just started trading off pieces, and then I played queen e5. Obviously I wanted to trade off the queens too, but he played queen c4 check, king b8. So a couple of pieces have come off, and although I'm down a pawn, but this is, I just think this is a draw, no matter how you look at it. He played rook h e1. I played queen g5, pinning the knight. Rook d5, queen h4, attacking the pawn on h2, and most importantly the rook on e1. So he played rook e to d1, knight b6, and here he's forced to trade pieces, obviously, because I'm now forking the queen and the rook. So he played rook takes, check, rook takes, check, queen takes, and now his queen is under attack, so he had to move his queen. So obviously he can't take this pawn, so he moved the queen g5, and again I'm pinning the knight. He played g3, and here I threw in h4, queen d4. I took the pawn, h takes g3, h takes g3, and knight c8. I suppose I could have taken the pawn right away. For example, if the pawn, queen takes pawn, if check, I can just put the knight over here, and he doesn't really have anything. In the worst, at least I have a draw in the worst case. Well, he didn't do that, so he played b3, maybe just to avoid any back rank ideas. I took the pawn, king b2, g5, knight e6. Obviously I could have played g4, but I prefer to play queen d6. He traded off, I took back, and now knight takes g5, king c7. Obviously this is completely drawn, so I don't know if there's much to say about this. This knight move wasn't necessary, but you know, I don't think it really matters. c5, knight d7, knight e8 check, king c7 here, and a little interesting move, although he's losing a pawn for nothing. But this is the draw anyway. I just took the knight, he took back, and now king takes d7, king d5. Obviously it doesn't make much difference if he goes over here. I can just go over here, and you know, we can't really do anything. If he plays this move, I can just take, and if he plays over here, I can just go here. Not much going on. So I don't really need to comment these moves. So okay, he's up a pawn, but this is draw. He even offered me a draw here. So what will happen here? Well, obviously if he goes, if you don't know this basic endgame, let's say he goes over here, I can just go here, like this, and if he leaves the pawn, I can just go up here, and if here, 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 here. And then you're going in front of the pawn, because obviously if you go over here, you will lose. So you can't do that. So you just go in front of the pawn. Like this. And now if he goes over here, you just go here, and if he pushes the pawn, it's a draw. So he offered me a draw on king b7 simply because of what I just showed you. So I hope you enjoy this rather fast clip about a game that I won. Well, sorry, drew in the Sicilian defense.